Picture this, my friends. It's the early hours of February 3rd, 1502, and the sun hasn't even dared to peek over the 7 hills of Rome. The city's cloaked in that eerie pre-dawn hush, the kind that makes you feel like the world's holding its breath. But in a grand chamber in Ferrara, a different kind of tension crackles through the air. Quills are scratching furiously against parchment, capturing something no holy scripture was ever meant to hold. In the flickering candlelight, Lucretzia Borgia, just 22 years old, lies beside Alfonso d'Este, her new husband. The witnesses, and trust me, these aren't your average wedding crashers, are scribbling down every detail of what just went down. 3 times. That's right, 3 complete consummations in one night. Each one observed, recorded, and legally verified. This isn't some tawdry tale of debauchery, though. This is politics at its most calculated, a performance so meticulously planned it could rewrite the map of Renaissance Italy. Now, before you raise an eyebrow or clutch your pearls, let me pull you into this wild story. This isn't just about a wedding night. It's about power, survival, and a woman who learned to play the game better than anyone. You're probably wondering how we got here, how a bedroom turned into a battlefield, how intimacy became a public spectacle, and why the Catholic Church, of all things, was blessing this bizarre ritual. To understand, we need to rewind 6 weeks to December 30th, 1501, when the Vatican's counting tables were practically groaning under the weight of 100,000 gold ducats. That's the sound of coins clinking, each one ringing like a funeral bell for innocence, as Lucretzia Borgia stood silently while her father, Pope Alexander VI, negotiated her worth down to the last florin. Lucretzia wasn't new to this game. At 22, she'd already been married twice. Neither time for love, mind you. Her first husband, Giovanni Sforza, humiliated himself before the papal courts, claiming impotence to escape the Borgia web. The second, Alfonso of Aragon, ended up with his blood painting the Vatican floors after a bandit attack that fooled no one. Now, here she was, the Pope's notorious daughter, standing in a room thick with incense and ambition, as the Ferrara delegation laid out their demands. They weren't just asking for a bride. They wanted land, tax exemptions, and, most crucially, proof. Not just signatures on a contract, but irrefutable witness proof that this marriage would be real. In every sense. And by real, I mean physical. The kind of proof that required quills, parchment, and a team of observers stationed just outside the bedchamber. This wasn't your average Renaissance wedding. Marriage contract back then read more like livestock deals than love stories. The Ferrara envoys, representing the powerful d'Este family, were blunt. They wanted guarantees that no Borgia treachery would taint this union. They'd heard the rumors, everyone had. Lucrezia's name was synonymous with scandal, poison, and secrets too dark for confession. Her first marriage ended in public. Humiliation when Giovanni swore he'd never betted her, a desperate lie to save face. Her second ended in murder when political winds shifted. The d'Este family wasn't taking chances. They demanded a spectacle. 3 consummations, witnessed and documented, to prove Lucretzia could produce an heir and seal the alliance. Let's pause and think about what this meant for Lucretzia. She's standing there, watching her father and these envoys haggle over her body like it's a commodity. She's not naive. She's been through this twice before. She knows her worth isn't in her beauty or her virtue, but in what her body can deliver: heirs, alliances, power. The Ferrara delegation wasn't subtle either. Cardinal Ippolito d'Este, Alfonso's brother, leaned forward and said it plainly. The consummation must be verified beyond any doubt. The air shifted. This wasn't just about a quick peek to confirm the marriage, like in some noble weddings. This was something more invasive, something that would turn a sacred sacrament into a carnal contract. You might be thinking this sounds like something out of a twisted historical drama, and you're not wrong. But this was Renaissance Italy, where power was a chess game, and Lucretzia was a queen being maneuvered across the board. Except, here's the thing, she wasn't just a pawn. She'd learned how to play. 2 failed marriages, a mysterious child, and endless rumors had taught her that survival meant controlling the narrative. So when the men treated her like cargo, she was already calculating how to turn this transaction into a triumph. Her father's voice cut through, smooth as silk but sharp as a blade. My daughter's virtue and vigor are beyond question. Oh, the irony. Virtue wasn't the point. Vigor was. The negotiations dragged into the night. Contracts piled up, written in ecclesiastical Latin that would make canon lawyers blush. The dowry ballooned beyond the initial 100, 000 ducats, with territories like Cento and Pieve thrown in, plus tax exemptions that would drain Rome's coffers for years. But everyone knew the real deal wasn't about gold or land. It was about what would happen in that bedchamber 6 weeks later. How many witnesses would stand in the shadows, how thoroughly the act would be documented. Lucretzia, silent through most of it, finally spoke. I accept these terms, she said, her voice steady, her gaze unflinching. The men looked at her, some surprised, others calculating, but she met their eyes. This wasn't the teenage bride of her first marriage or the grieving widow of her second. This was a Borgia forged in scandal and survival, ready to choreograph her own performance. Now let's talk about Alfonso d'Este, because he's no side character in this drama. Born in 1476, Alfonso was the spare heir of the d'Este family, never meant to rule until his older brother died young. He wasn't your typical Renaissance prince dripping in silk and poetry. No, Alfonso was a man of the forge, his hands scarred from working metal alongside common smiths. He designed cannons that could smash through walls. Thought impregnable, he understood force, trajectory, the physics of destruction. When his family told him he'd marry the Pope's scandal-drenched daughter, he didn't write sonnets or throw a tantrum. He approached it like an engineering problem. Input, output, measurable results. The unusual consummation requirements? To him, they were just specifications like the temperature needed to cast. Bronze. Alfonso's pragmatism was his strength, and it made him the perfect match for Lucretzia. Where others saw a tainted bride, he saw a solution to a political equation. Ferrara needed allies. France loomed from the north, Venice from the east, and the Papal States controlled the south. A marriage to Lucretzia, backed by her father's wealth and influence, could secure Ferrara's future. The 100,000 ducats didn't hurt either. That kind of money could buy a lot of cannons. So when his family recoiled at aligning with the Borgias, those Spanish upstarts who'd bought the papacy, Alfonso just nodded. No romance, no illusions. Just a deal to be done. But here's where things get interesting. A few days before the wedding, on January 30th, 1502, Alfonso and Lucretzia met, face-to-face in Bologna's Bentivoglio Palace. This wasn't a formality. It was a calculated move to ensure the bride and groom could stand each other before the public performance. And something unexpected happened. Alfonso walked in. No flourish, no ceremony, just his blunt self, and stopped dead in his tracks. Lucretzia, dressed not in gaudy Borgia gold, but in deep burgundy velvet, stood by a window, her golden hair catching the light. For 3 heartbeats, neither moved. Then she smiled. Not the polished court smile she perfected, but something real, almost surprised. Alfonso, never one for pretty words, said, "You're not what I expected." Lucretzia laughed. Actually laughed. "Neither are you. This wasn't love at first sight. Let's not get carried away. This was Renaissance Italy, not a fairy tale. But it was a spark, a recognition of compatibility between two people shaped by necessity. They talked for 3 hours, not about poetry or romance, but about canons, court politics, and the French threat. When the conversation turned to the wedding night protocols, Lucretzia didn't flinch. 3 times? She asked. Alfonso nodded. Then we'd better like each other, she said, and he grinned. This wasn't just duty anymore. It was a partnership forming, one that would make the coming spectacle both easier and infinitely more complicated. That spark in Bologna carries us right into the heart of the storm, because it's now just before midnight on February 2nd, 1502, and the cathedral bells in Ferrara are still echoing, marking the end of the Feast of the Virgin. Inside the grand bedchamber, the air's thick with something heavier than incense. Lucretzia Borgia and Alfonso stand 3 feet apart, candlelight flickering across their faces, both fully aware their every move, every sound, will be scrutinized, recorded, preserved for centuries. The door to the adjacent chamber is slightly ajar, just enough for the witnesses to hear, maybe see if needed. And those witnesses, they're not your average guests. They're a notary, a doctor, and a spy, each armed with tools, ink, parchment, medical texts, and a memory sharp enough to cut glass. The bed dominates the room, positioned so every creak, every whisper carries to the witness's station. Candles cast shadows that reveal motion. Without too much detail, privacy's last pretense. Fresh linens are stacked neatly, ready to be collected and examined after each act. This isn't a bedroom anymore. It's a stage, a courtroom, a medical theater. The witnesses are ready. Francesco Castello, the papal notary, with sealed parchments and authenticated ink. Dr. Ludovico Cari, a physician from Bologna, clutching texon. Consummation evidence. And Bernardino de Prosperi, Cardinal Ippolito's secretary, and Isabella de Spy, here to catch every nuance for his patroness. These men aren't here for thrills. They're here to ensure the d'Este Borgia alliance is ironclad, that no one can challenge this marriage for lack of consummation. Why does this matter so much? In Renaissance Italy, a marriage wasn't valid until consummated. The church was obsessed with the physical act. It sealed the sacrament. But when noble families were involved, where alliances could shift kingdoms, you couldn't take the couple's word for it. You needed proof, hard proof, that could stand up in a papal court. Lucrezia's first husband, Giovanni Sforza, learned that when he claimed impotence to escape the Borgias, only to have Lucrezia's witnesses swear she was still a virgin. The d'Este family wasn't risking that. They wanted triple proof. 3 consummations, each documented to leave no doubt. Back in the bedchamber, Alfonso moves first. He's not a man of flowery gestures, and tonight's no exception. His forge-scarred hands tremble slightly as he reaches for Lucrezia's shoulders to unlace her nightgown. She stands still, her expression unreadable. Neither speaks. What could you say when your body's about to become public property? Through the cracked door, Prosperi notes the rustle of fabric hitting the floor, a soft gasp from Lucretzia, pleasure or surprise. He can't tell. Dr. Cari's listening for distress, anything suggesting physical inability. Castello writes, the parties began their marital duties at 17 minutes before 1 o'clock. What's happening isn't the brutal claiming you might imagine from horror stories about witness beatings. There's gentleness, a careful negotiation between two people who know what's at stake. Alfonso's voice, low but audible, says, "Tell me if," but Lucretzia cuts him off, "I will proceed." The bed creaks. A sharp intake of breath, his or hers. The witnesses debate later. Then come rhythmic sounds, unmistakable, undeniable. But it's not aggressive or mechanical. There's softness, murmured words too. Quiet to catch, even a stifled laugh. Dr. Carey notes the duration. About 20 minutes, respectable for a first act. He writes that Lucrezia's vocal responses suggest successful penetration and probable completion, while Alfonso's breathing shows adequate exertion without exhaustion. Clinical, cold, reducing connection to biology. Prosperi catches something else. He hears Lucretzia whisper something that makes Alfonso laugh during the act. A real laugh, not nervous. He notes tenderness in their movements, a hint that the Bologna spark might be catching fire. Most surprising, they don't separate immediately after, as protocol demands. They stay entwined, talking softly, ignoring the witnesses. Alfonso calls out, "The first seal is set," the pre-agreed signal. Costello marks the time. 1:23 a.m. Servants slip in to change the linens, collecting stain sheets. Dr. Carey notes blood stains, supposedly proving Lucrezia's virginity, though everyone knows her. Ladies likely use chicken blood. It's not about truth, it's about evidence. This first act is a triumph, not just because it happened, but because it happened with dignity. Many witnessed. Consummations were nightmares. Men buckled, women wept. Witnesses recorded disaster. But Alfonso and Lucretzia, they pulled it off with quiet partnership. Maybe it was their attraction. Maybe their shared understanding of necessity. Whatever it was, they made it work. The servants bring wine to restore strength, and a witness's whisper, "Is once enough?" The contract's vague, saying only sufficient proof. But they know the Borgias. Pope Alexander VI didn't pay 100,000 ducats for a single act. As fresh linens are laid out, Alfonso's voice carries, rough but determined. Once proves capacity, twice proves vigor, but your family's requirement. Lucrezia's response is too quiet, but Prosperi notes she sounds resolved, not defeated. That resolve carries them into the second act, and it's 2:15 a.m. now, the air thick with wax, wine, and nervous energy. The first consummation proved the marriage was real, but this one's about endurance, showing the alliance isn't a fluke. The witnesses are still there, quills poised, ears straining. Costello's scribbling with precision, noting the exact time. Dr. Carey's texts are open, analyzing every sound for vigor or failure. Prosperi's catching every whisper for Isabella d'Este, who wants to know if this Borgia bride is a threat or a tool. The bed's been made up, but the linens are already wrinkled from restless bodies. Wine's poured, more for courage than refreshment, and there's a low murmur between Lucretzia and Alfonso. It's not stiff or formal. It's real, almost too real. Lucrezia's voice cuts through, teasing but sharp. They expect theatrical moaning. Should I oblige? The witnesses perk up, expecting drama, maybe distress, because most witness consummations were nightmares. But Alfonso's reply throws them. Be yourself. They're documenting truth tonight, not theater. Truth? Theater? The lines blurred beyond recognition. Every gasp, every creak will be legal evidence, but something genuine's creeping in. The witnesses didn't sign up for this. This second act is about vigor, proving Alfonso's stamina and Lucrezia's ability to keep up. The Dest need heirs. The Borgias need to prove their daughter's worth more than 100,000 ducats. Fatigue setting in. Ceremonies, feasts, toasts, and now it's past 2 a.m. The couple's human, not machines, and the witnesses hear it in slower, deliberate movements. A pause, long enough to make Costello glance at his colleagues, wondering if they should intervene. Then Lucrezia's voice, soft but firm, "We're halfway to freedom." Freedom. That word hangs, a reminder this isn't just politics, it's survival. Alfonso approaches like he does his cannons. Calculate angle, leverage, rhythm for efficiency. But calculation can't hide growing. Intimacy. The witnesses hear it. Less precision, more feeling. Prosperi notes increased vocalization from both. Comfort? Passion? He can't tell, but writes to Isabella that your brother seems to find pleasure in his duty. There's laughter, low and private, like a shared joke. Then a crash. A water pitcher hits the floor, followed by muffled cursing and giggles. Even in this high-stakes performance, clumsiness sneaks in, almost endearing. Dr. Carey's notes are businesslike. The 30-minute gap suggests youthful vigor and probable attraction. But he's missing the human drama. This isn't biology. It's partnership under bizarre circumstances. Lucrezia is coaching Alfonso. Almost there. Stay with me. It's encouragement, not command. The witnesses note it's not conqueror. And conquered, but two people working together. When the second act peaks at 3:42 a.m., Lucrezia announces, her voice exhausted but triumphant. The second seal is set, my lords. The witnesses exchange glances. She's not just performing, she's directing. Servants change the linens, taking longer as the couples collapsed against each other, too tired to separate. Dr. Carey notes vigorous. Completion, but less blood. The chicken blood trick only works once. Prosperi writes of tenderness. A hint the Bologna spark is warming. But as the witnesses congratulate themselves, Alfonso's voice, rough with fatigue, cuts through. The Borgia protocol demands 3. Lucrezia's response is quiet, but Prosperi sees her touch Alfonso's face, a gesture too intimate for this clinical setting. That gesture lingers as the clock creeps toward 4:30 a.m., and Ferrara's wrapped in pre-dawn silence. In the bedchamber, there's no rest, just two exhausted people facing the final hurdle. The air smells of sweat, wine, and desperation, the linens crumpled from restless bodies. This is the third act, the one the Borgia protocol demands to prove the alliance is unbreakable. The desk line secure, the union sealed in flesh and blood. The witnesses are struggling. Costello's notations are sparse. Dr. Carey's worried about medical risks. Prosperi's still sharp. Cool, ready for Isabella. They're all waiting, knowing this will be the hardest yet. Alfonso's voice breaks the silence, heavy with exhaustion. I'm not sure I can. It's raw, vulnerable. Not what you expect from a canon designer. But Lucrezia is steel under silk. You can. We've come too far to fail now. She's the strength now, pushing them toward the finish. Prosperi notes the reversal. The Borgia bride's urging her flagging groom. The sounds are different. No rhythmic confidence, just raw effort. Lucrezia's encouragements are constant. Almost there. Stay with me for our future. Alfonso's responses are wordless, heavy breathing of a body at its limit. Dr. Carey notes risks of overexertion, but politics trumps medicine. The Borgias want 3, the contract demands. 3, and 3 it will be. The witnesses hear fumbling, a lamp knocked over, muffled laughter as they find humor in absurdity. It's human, messy, profound. A partnership forged in strange fires. Costello's notes are bare. Third attempt begun near dawn. Considerable effort evident. Even he's affected. Prosperi writes of shared adversity giving strength. Dr. Carey notes no distress, but worries about damage. Then a shift, maybe dawn light, maybe delirium. Lucretzia quips about earning every ducat. Alfonso about cannons needing less aim. They're laughing, finding absurdity in there. Ordeal. At 5:47 a.m., Alfonso's barely audible voice announces the third seal is set. Lucretzia seals it, clear and loud. Loud enough for all witnesses. The Borgia promise is fulfilled. Let no one doubt Dest vigor or Borgia determination. Silence follows, heavy and profound. Then Prosperi claps, slow, stunned. Others join, a bizarre acknowledgement of superhuman effort. Servants find the couple entwined, unable to separate at first. Dr. Carey notes, completion despite exhaustion, the final proof. That final proof carries them into dawn, and the witnesses emerge. Parchment's heavy with history. Costello's final note is dry. At dawn on the third day of February, 1502, the marriage of Duke Alfonso d'Este and Duchess Lucretzia Borgia was consummated 3 times. But it misses the laughter, the encouragements, the partnership. Dr. Carey notes remarkable endurance and unusual compatibility. Prosperi's letter to Isabella captures it. Your brother has met. His match in wit and will. What was meant to subordinate has created partnership. In the bedchamber, Lucretzia and Alfonso sleep, too tired to move, their bodies tangled. They've done the impossible, but the cost comes later. 7 months later, September 5th, 1502, Ferrara is celebrating the expected Dest heir. Lucretzia is in labor, but the baby girl conceived that night. Lives only long enough to be baptized. Lucretzia hemorrhages, hovering between life and death for 2 weeks. Physicians whisper the triple consummation might have taken a toll. When she wakes on September 20th, her first words are, "Did the documentation arrive in Rome?" That's Lucretzia. Politician first, survivor second, woman third. Her body pays a brutal price for more miscarriages. Follow, her health never fully recovering, but her mind sharpens. She's learned. If her body's currency, she controls the exchange rate. The docile bride is gone. She's ready to wield her sexuality as a weapon, and that weapon's about to find its mark. By 1503, Lucretzia is no longer just the Pope's scandalous daughter or the dutiful bride. She's the Duchess of Ferrara, a survivor of 2 dead husbands, a brutal childbirth, and a night that turned her body into a contract. Now she's playing the game on her terms. Enter Francesco Gonzaga, husband to Isabella d'Este, Alfonso's sister and Lucrezia's harshest critic. Isabella ordered Prosperi to spy that night, documenting every gasp for leverage. She wrote letters dripping with disgust at a Borgia in her family. Lucretzia is not taking it lying down. The affair with Gonzaga isn't love or lust. It's surgical, a masterclass in revenge. Lucretzia knows Isabella's weakness, her belief in her own superiority. What better way to strike than stealing her husband's desire? The seduction is precise, a love letter discovered during negotiations, a gift recognized at gatherings, each move destabilizing Isabella at key moments. Lucretzia is not just having an affair, she's weaponizing it, creating her own archive of scandal. This isn't reckless. It's Lucretzia using the lessons of that night to control the narrative. She ensures witnesses, documentation, letters, gifts, whispers for leverage. Isabella's humiliated. Her spy, Prosperi, torn between truth and protecting his patroness. Alfonso doesn't rage. He nods, recognizing a master move. Their marriage evolves into something stranger, stronger, a partnership of equals who know power is performance. They'll have 7 children, though several die young. Each pregnancy a reminder of that night's toll. But Lucretzia is defined by her ability to turn scandal into strength. That strength reshapes not just Ferrara, but Europe. The Borgia Protocol, those 3 consummations, spreads like wildfire. French nobles add clauses requiring witness consummation. German princes cite Ferrara's precedent. Architects design chambers for optimal acoustic. Documentation. Marriage contracts include consummation clauses, and noble families invest in protocols to secure alliances. The sacred becomes profane, the bedroom a theater of war. Lucretzia and Alfonso didn't just seal a marriage. They set a template that lasts centuries. The cost, though, is steep. Lucrezia's body never fully recovers. 4 miscarriages, each a wound. Dr. Carey wonders if that night's exertion caused lasting damage. But politics trumps medicine. The marriage is unassailable, and that's what counts. Lucretzia adapts, turning scandal into leverage. Her affair with Gonzaga isn't just revenge. It's a declaration she controls her narrative. Isabella, who thought she could humiliate Lucretzia, is outplayed. Prosperi, documenting submission, records betrayal instead. Lucrezia's legend grows. By her death in 1519, she's not just a scandal. She's a power player, transforming Ferrara into a cultural and political force. Her name, once poison, becomes strength. The original documents, Castello's notes, Carey's reports, Prosperi's letters, vanish in a Vatican vaults, too explosive for their time. They resurface in the 1990s, revealing not debauchery, but bureaucracy. Intimacy turned into evidence, bodies into contracts. Lucretzia understood this. She took a patriarchal world's rules and bent them. Her affairs, pregnancies, scandals were strategy, controlling her narrative. She didn't just survive the protocol. She weaponized it, turning her body into a tool of power no one expected. We're back at dawn. February 3rd, 1502. As witnesses emerge, parchments heavy with history. They thought they documented submission. They were wrong. They recorded a new power where intimacy became bureaucracy, bodies battlefields, and a woman like Lucretzia could be both currency and queen. Today, we shudder at the invasion of privacy, but our world of leaked scandals and public performances isn't so. Different. Somewhere in Vatican vaults, those records wait, reminding us power demands its particular consummations. So what do you think, my friends? Was Lucretzia a victim, a mastermind, or both? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if this blew your mind, and subscribe to WTF History for more wild tales from the past. Let's keep uncovering the stories they didn't teach. You in school,